talking about that dash between your birth and your passing. So I've got a lot of dash here. Not a lot, but some. I did want to say, before I forget, the day before he passed, Dr. Palmer came into the room and chatted with Pop a little while. And when he went to leave, my dad said, okay, come on back if you got no place else to go. This is the day before he passed. So he was sharp-witted at the very end. I do want to say the song you heard, Amazing Grace, thanks Janine for reminding me we actually recorded that song. Father already talked about being prepared for death. A few years ago, I was talking to my sisters, and we thought, when Daddy passes, and we don't think that'll ever happen, because he was 99, and, thought he just lived till 200. We better record the song in advance if we're going to sing something, because we can't sing it live. There's no way you can sing a song at a funeral live. Not because we thought he'd pass, because we're getting too old and we can't sing anymore. So we figured we'd get the song on tape. And so we went to Montaigne's Sound Studios, in other words, Darlene and Johnny's house, and pulled out the cell phone. That's all we had. Didn't have any fancy recording equipment, and we recorded Amazing Grace, the song you heard, as well as the song you're going to hear in a few minutes. That was a song Vince Gill wrote for his brother who passed away. But the lyrics didn't work because my dad did not lead a troubled life. So had to change the lyrics around. You'll see it in the I think in the leaflet you have the words that we ended up with. So glad we got that on tape a few years ago. I'm not sure what else we have to say about our dad, who's been around 102 years. That hasn't already been said, but I'll give it a shot. I thought I would approach it from the viewpoint of how his life has touched the rest of the world to others outside of their family, the places and people he's visited and lived in. Many of them have passed away, but some are still with us. The families on Bayou Teche would remember him as one of the hard-working stoop boys who earned a few cents a day for the family by loading sweet potatoes on rail cars after working hard hours as sharecroppers in the fields during the Depression. The workers at the Conservation Corps in Oregon would remember him as a skinny young man with basically nothing from Louisiana who came to work and earned a few dollars to help him buy a few things for him and his family. The Navy would remember him as a young man who helped keep ship engines running on several of the ships in World War II, including the USS Utah. I have no doubt he excelled at whatever they asked him to do, as he was very mechanically skilled, and I'm sure they appreciated that. The customers at PA Olive used car dealership in Port Arthur might remember a car he would have sold them from any number of brands that they had sold. And hopefully they were happy with their purchase and their sales experience. As I know Dad would not have been your typical salesman. He didn't have the hair for it anyway, but anyway. He would have never sold them a lemon. That was not him. He would never have sold them anything that wasn't running perfectly. The neighbors on Charles Street in Bridge City would remember him as a father of all those kids running around on bicycles, down the street, in the yards. Someone who always kept his trees trimmed, his bushes trimmed, the house painted, the yard immaculate, and the grass cut, as Father Ernie mentioned. Never any garbage or clutter to be seen. Basically just a good neighbor. They would remember the smell of smoke from the barbecue pit on many a Saturday when he had fired up for chicken, hamburgers, or whatever else Mom had to serve. They would also remember seeing him under the hood of his car on many weekends, either fixing or maintaining it. Or whenever one of his kids showed up to change their oil or top off their fluids or check their windshield wipers. I think all of his kids know that he did that. You showed up at his house, he's going to check your tire pressure. It's like a gas station service. Making sure we're good to go for the trip back home because he knew you were driving back home. To this day, he's the only man I've ever known who replaced an alternator or a water pump before it ever needed it. I wouldn't come close to that myself. They would also remember him throwing and catching a football with a young man who couldn't seem to get tired until asthma stopped him. The people at St. Henry's would have noticed that he had his entire family sitting in the back row at 5:30 for the 6 o'clock Saturday service. I know he had to be there early because he worked, but us kids, 5:30, really? Church doesn't start till 6. It was funny, I have to admit, we're sitting in the car and he's looking at his watch, and my mom is still not, she was always the last one out of the house, I'm pretty sure it was her, getting herself fixed up. Honking the horn, nicely, not staying on the horn, but honking the horn, letting mom know, hey, we need to go. All the kids get in the car, driving fast to church, which was 3 minutes away. And then we all, in a huff, sit in the back seat. There's nobody else in the church but us, except Mrs. Raspberry, and those of you who know St. Henry's. Miss Raspberry was across the church with her rosary, and we were the only ones in the church. And sometimes we beat her, and I think maybe she didn't like that, so it was a competition. We didn't understand, so I learned to count. St. Henry's is a circular church. I think it still is. I'm sorry, I haven't been there in a while. I would count the slats in the roof. We were so bored for 30 minutes before church. I think I could count the columns that went around and the roof boards. And there was no cell phones. They had nothing to do with it. The priests and the lay people would remember his service and dedication to the church and its operation, as Father already said. Many in the congregation would remember him giving them communion as a Eucharistic minister. They'd also remember him as an usher who was skilled at using the collection basket. And for those, I had to share this story. It's really funny. It's what I remember. So back then they had collection baskets on a pole, an extension. And so he would walk from aisle to aisle, extending this basket. And when a dollar would come out, that basket would shoot out like a rocket. He was like Errol Flynn, some swashbuckling movie. And I always watched him thinking, is he going to hit somebody in the head now? Is it going to be somebody's glasses he's going to knock off or something? Never did. He was accurate, from 10 feet away, he could extend that basket out. Not hurt anybody. The managers and friends at Price & Company would remember the hardworking man who was dedicated to his job and rarely missed work over 30 years. The managers at all the convenience stores and gas stations in the Golden Triangle would remember him that he was responsible for his dedication to keep their shelves stocked with candy and tobacco products, which, as Gary mentioned, that was our bread on the table. I'm sure he got to know all of them and they appreciated his friendship and support. I can tell you he knew every gas station, grocery store that we ever drove by. He'd know them personally, he could tell you their name and everything about the store. From the dance hall in Leonville, Louisiana, to the Spark of Paradise in Bridge City and Larry's in Port Neches, the managers and patrons would remember a guy that loved his Cajun music and loved to dance. It would have been hard not to notice him and Mom and later Cherry kept a rug. Even journalists would remember him and write stories in the local papers about his experience at Pearl Harbor, remembering him on his birthdays. I'm sure there are many readers of those articles who appreciated knowing about his life and experiences. I know that Shirley followed up, and there is only one other survivor from the USS Utah. So Daddy was one of two, and now there's one left. Even the mayor of Bridge City and U.S. congressmen came to visit him and show him their admiration and respect. Caregivers will remember him and cherish the time they got to spend looking after him in his later years. And I got a chance to meet, I think, all of them. They were fantastic, fantastic ladies. Of course, for his family, many of whom are here today, but some like our mom, our sister Denise, as well as many of his own sisters and brothers, we all have our own cherished memories that we'll always carry. And I did ask my siblings if they want to come up and speak, and I know they have a lot to say, but stage fright would probably prevent them from coming up. But trust me, we've got a lot of memories, 102 years of living together. So I want to leave you with one lasting memory I have, and I hope I get through this because you just never know when you can't. I was probably 8 years old. It was nighttime, and Dad was in his room. The light was out. The hallway light was on. And I was walking by, my mom opened the door. And I remember seeing my dad on his knees beside his bed praying. I had seen him on his knees hundreds of times in church. So, why would that be different? Why would that be something that sort of stuck out in my memory? Well, it was because it wasn't at church. It wasn't in front of anybody. It was he himself at home, by himself, in the dark, in the room, no one else seeing him, humbling himself before his God to give him strength to take care of the family that he did so faithfully his whole life. I'll never forget that. That sticks with me today. Because of his faith and our faith in the Lord Jesus Christ, we will be with him again one day. Until then, his spirit is rejoicing with God in heaven now.
One of the most seasick sailors in the Southeast Pacific. He and I had a lot of time to just sit and talk, reminisce about going to sea and what it was like, and telling lies. We call them sea stories, but they're lies. And I think even to this moment, there's still a little salt water in his veins. He was a sailor. And in the Navy, there's custom and tradition that when you leave your ship for the last time, you're piped over the side. And what that means is the bosun on watch has a bosun pipe, and he plays the flourishes that are commensurate with the service of the man going over the side. In our case, it's the old man. It's the term of endearment used for the captain of the ship, or in this case, the captain of the family. I would like to enjoy or invite any servicemen, past, present, or future, who want to stand with me and pipe Cedric over the side. Ship's company, up to hood. Man aside. Servicemen, to the rail. Side boys, breeze ahead. Huh! Cedric Stout, departing. By the way, Cedric is reported to his next news station.
Good afternoon. Petty Officer Second Class Robert Rose. Today with me is a detail from the United States Navy, and they're also members of the Southeast Texas Veteran Service Group. All volunteer. Rifle salute, playing of taps, and folding and presentation of the flag to the family. During the playing of taps, I would ask that everyone please rise and face the flag under which Cedric Stout served our great nation. If you're a military member or if you're a veteran, you may render a hand salute in lieu of putting your hand over your heart if you choose. Please feel free to do so. I will warn you that the rifle volleys may be loud, so please do not let it startle you. Cedric Stout. For over 248 years, America's men and women have stepped forward and defended our nation from all enemies, both foreign and domestic. Men and women from all walks of life entered service in the United States Navy to defend our great nation. We're here today to render final military honors for Petty Officer Second Class Cedric Stout, who answered the call to defend our nation during World War II. Cedric Stout entered active duty with the United States Navy on March the 22nd, 1941. Seaman Apprentice Cedric Stout began his Navy training at the United States Naval Training Station, San Diego, California. He was transferred to the fleet where he advanced through the ranks and achieved the rank and rate of motor machinist mate second class petty officer. The role of a motor machinist mate involved maintaining and repairing engines on naval vessels such as boats, ships, and submarines. These individuals were essential to ensuring that these vehicles and vessels could operate smoothly and efficiently during wartime. Petty Officer Stout served aboard a number of types and classes of ships. These included the USS Utah, AG-16, which was a Florida-class dreadnought that had been redesignated as a target ship serving in the Hawaiian Territory prior to the bombing of Pearl Harbor. The USS Utah was at anchor at Pearl Harbor when the Japanese attacked on December 7, 1941, and was sunk. Petty Officer Stout was aboard that vessel when it was attacked. Petty Officer Stout also served aboard the USS Detroit, CL-8, which was an Omaha-class light cruiser, and it was also moored at Pearl Harbor during the Japanese attack. Petty Officer Stout also served aboard the USS Mount Vernon, AP-22, a converted passenger liner which served as a troop transport going into the Pacific Theater. He also served aboard the USS William Preston, AVD-7, which was a seaplane tender destroyer. The USS Dobbin, AD-3, a destroyer tender. The USS Mizar, AF-12, a storage passenger and mail ship. And also the USS LST-340, which was a tank landing ship. Petty Officer Cedric Stout also served with several shore commands based in the Pacific, including Service Force Subordcom Southwest Pacific, which was in Australia, Escort Destroyer Repair Base 7, and he also assisted with mine crafts in the 7th Fleet. Petty Officer Cedric Stout served on active duty 4 years, 8 months, 2 days. Petty Officer Cedric Stout earned the Asiatic Pacific Campaign Medal and the World War II Victory Medal. He also earned and was awarded his honorable discharge from the United States Navy. Cedric Stout came forward to serve this country in a time of need. Petty Officer Stout is part of the greatest generation our country has ever known. He has earned the gratitude of his countrymen then, and he will continue to earn the gratitude of his countrymen for generations still to come. NCOIC, remember final military tribute to a true American hero. that man's life was precious. When we enter the military, we understand that we may have to give our life for our country, our family, and our friends. Yet when we leave the military, we understand we continue to live by that oath for the rest of our lives. This path is the way which we follow that bond is better than ourselves. This concludes military honors for Cedric Stout. So God bless Cedric, his family, his friends, and his life. As we have filled in the fire of
Oh, how we smile through tears of flowing, remembering the love you gave. You kept your vow to our sweet mama till they laid her in the grave. Go as high on that mountain, son, your work on earth is done. Go to heaven, shout the Father and Son. You lived your life a humble servant, cared for those he gave you. You never left your family, you never tried to make it through. Go as high on that mountain, son, your work on earth is done. Go to heaven, shout the Father.
J'ai crié pour ta voix, pour ta